Our first speaker is Yvonne Brannon.
I'm going to put this up here. That'll be our sign. How's that? Does it look good? Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off today. I'm Yvonne Brannon. I'm with Public Schools First, North Carolina. And we know that there have been a lot of comments made about HB 13, a lot of misinformation. So my job today is to take just a few minutes to be patient with me and give you a little bit of history and some facts about where we are and how we got here in HB 13. So can everyone hear me? Am I doing okay so far? Okay. So we are here today to talk about HB 13 and what I call the unfunded class size mandate. Current estimates show that class size restrictions passed in last year's budget will cost our school districts up to $388 million in operating costs. So let that sink in for a minute. Schools across North Carolina will need to hire an additional 5,000 K-3 certified teachers. And quite frankly, many districts can only do this by laying off other teachers, other teacher assistants, other employees. Most of our schools also do not have the physical space needed for these smaller additional classes. So the restrictions will have to not also mean that they have to increase the district's capital costs. And that money comes from raising local taxes to build more classrooms. A mobile unit, for example, costs $85,000, and the estimate for a 800 student size elementary school is $30 million. So think about that for some of our mid to large school systems. Last year's budget also eliminated the flexibility that school districts have to fund art, music, and PE teachers that they've been using for the last 30 years, not just this year. 30 years we've had this in place to use this flexibility. There's no separate funding for these positions, even though they are required by the North Carolina Basic Education Program that was set in place in the early 80s. 2 months ago, on February the 20th, the House unanimously passed HB 13. Let's give them a cheer. Which restores local flexibility that we need if we're going to fund our art, music, and PE teachers, and for many school systems, our teacher assistants. The bill is sitting now in the Rules Committee of the Senate, and the senators refuse to move it out and vote on it. How do you feel about that? Thank you. Senate leaders say that they've given LEAs the money to cover extra classroom teachers, and it's been misused. That is not the truth. The truth is that they know how the money has been spent. Since 1985, school districts all across the state have been allowed to use that money to pay for teachers that provide instruction that the state requires. The money is being used to fund the General Assembly's own requirement for art, music, and PE instruction. Leaving aside just for a moment this notion that specials are somehow a misuse of funds, okay, that just hard for me to even say, Mark, that we're going to call specials a misuse of public tax dollars. Do you guys agree with that? So let's talk about what has really been going on in school funding in North Carolina. And the issue is really very clear. Our schools are underfunded. The state has not restored funds that were cut at the beginning of the recession. Let me tell you just a few facts. There are 7,884 state-funded teacher assistant positions have been cut since 2008. Think about that. Almost 8,000 teacher assistants have been cut. Who provides the individual instruction in our lower grades? One teacher for every 16, 17, 18, 19 is not the same as a teacher and a teacher assistant with an adult-child ratio of 1 to 11 or 1 to 10 or 1 to 9. We're not ignorant of these facts, right? So we've cut our teacher assistants in this goal of class size reduction. We shouldn't be making that choice. In 2013, consider this. The state increased K-12 class sizes in order to reduce the amount of money they spent on teachers. And even when they restored the K-1 ratios in 2014, they cut another $105 million for teacher assistants. In 2015, the legislature did not give any increase for classroom teachers, even though our student population across the state kept going up and grew. And last year, the budget only provided $27 million to reduce first grade class size, knowing full well when they passed this budget that the same pot of money pays for critical art, music, and PE instruction. Legislative analysts, the staff who work in the legislative building right over there, even told the lawmakers at that time last year the impact that this was going to have on our elementary schools, and they did it anyway. And since last year, even though we've been crying out, pleading with them, talking with them, emailing, meeting with them for the past year, guess what they've done? Nothing, because the bill still sits in the Rules Committee. The bottom line, over the past decade, the state has decreased our K-12 public education funding. School districts right now are receiving $600 less per student than we did in 2008. What is it right now? What year are we in?
2017!
So is that 9 years later we're spending less money per child than we did in 2008, and we wonder why we have a funding dilemma that we're in now. We are 43rd in the nation in per pupil expenditures, yet our legislature has cut taxes for the wealthy for the last 5 years, and at the expense of not fully funding our schools. If our schools were funded at the national average, just the national average, you understand averages, young people, right? We would be getting $3,000 more per student to spend locally than the false, and we wouldn't have these false choices to make right now. Now North Carolina is forcing districts who are facing budget crises right now to eliminate teachers that our youngest students need. Someone asked me a few minutes ago, what is the hurry? So everyone here knows, in case the legislators do not know, that local school districts are required by law to balance their budgets and to set a budget for next year right now. I'll use Wake County as an example. They're passing their budget so they can present it to the county commissioners. The county commissioners have to vote on this budget the first week in June. They can either fund our art, our music, and PE teachers and not lay them off, or they've got to come up with an extra $13 million by July 1st. Does that seem fair to push that down on local school districts?
No!
So the last thing I'm going to say, and I think these young people will attest to this, art and music and PE are not fluff. I am so discouraged to hear that. They are not add-ons. They are essential to education achievement. Research shows that they have proven to support mastery in core academic courses. They are essential to educating the whole child and to providing a quality education that is competitive with other states. Right now, our school districts are struggling as they decide which teachers and which teacher assistants to fire. They're getting pink slips ready right now, and our teachers, our students deserve and need better than this. We urge the Senate to pass House Bill 13 now. The state must fulfill its constitutional promise to fully fund our public schools and to keep North Carolina as a place where people want to work and to live and to educate their children. Pass HB 13 now.
Good afternoon. I got a question for you. Do you love North Carolina public schools? Do Do you believe that every child should have equal access and opportunity to a well-rounded public education? Do you believe that art and music and physical education are part of our core curriculums? Absolutely. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, for my parents, for these wonderful students, and on behalf of the North Carolina Association of Educators, North Carolina's largest public school employee organization, I am Mark Jewell, and please know I am representing tens of thousands of teachers across this great state of North Carolina, and I say the Senate must pass HB 13 immediately. Thousands of you across the state have signed our petition urging the Senate to pass House Bill 13 right here. Say right here. Oh, you got that. Right here. But once again, many of our state public school teachers and teacher assistants are on edge about whether they will have a job or no job at the end of the school year. In the past years, thousands of teacher assistants have been threatened with losing their jobs, and it's happening again. And if we are a state that truly values public education, and I know that we are, am I right? Yeah! Why do we allow our elected leaders then to let this happen year after year? Is this our state? Yes. Living with this kind of fear and uncertainty is not productive for teachers, it's not productive for students, it's not productive for public schools, and it's not productive for our school administrators. In last year's budget, the General Assembly approved a new class requirement for kindergarten through third grade. NCAE and our teachers are supportive of small class sizes, but you cannot do it haphazardly and in a way that jeopardizes the kind of education and the kinds of schools that our students deserve. One that is well-rounded with a diverse curriculum that meets the needs of all of these students behind me and across this great state. You see, House Bill 13 is simple. It keeps the new class size requirements that lawmakers passed in last year's budget, but it restores local flexibility to school districts that was eliminated by this General Assembly. Traditionally, local school districts have used this flexibility to fund great art, great music, great PE, great world languages, great technology. The result of the elimination of this flexibility will cost 5,500 art, music, PE, world language, and other jobs, teaching jobs, this year in North Carolina alone. And teacher assistants are also at risk. Is that the North Carolina we deserve? No! Absolutely not. The time is now for the North Carolina Senate to take up House Bill 13 and to pass it immediately. School districts and our county commissions are preparing their budgets, as my friend Yvonne just said. Our students and our parents and our communities deserve those public schools with well-rounded curriculums. House Bill 13, folks, you know it and I know it. It's only a short-term fix. One way to really help alleviate this problem longer term is to make that kind of investment in public schools needed in the first place in North Carolina and elevating our North Carolina public pupil expenditure to the national average. Our state's track record over the last 5 years is dismal on this key education investment. North Carolina currently ranks 43rd in the nation and more than 3,000 per student in the national average. Our current state investment in our students is $5,000 per child, while we spend $30,000 to incarcerate an inmate. Is that the North Carolina that we deserve? No! Our students deserve better than this. The North Carolina Senate should pass House Bill 13 immediately. Let's invest in our public classrooms and let's give North Carolina the schools our students deserve. Right here? Right here. Please welcome Susan Book, a wonderful parent, up to the stage.
Hello, my name is Susan Book, but in the halls of Reedy Creek Elementary School, I'm known as Emerson's mom. My son is on the autism spectrum. One of his biggest challenges is simply going to school. Emerson has sensory processing disorder, and school is filled with sensory challenges. School can be intensely noisy,